He's a licensed architect, a white-collar professional. Middle-aged guy, married for 27 years, 2 kids. This area in Long Island, Ocean Parkway area, kind of marshy. He induces them to return with him to their family home because he built an unaliving room in the basement.
So he had built a room specific to do this sort of bad stuff.
They discover 1 woman, 2 women, 3 women, 4 women. They're all wrapped up using burlap straps. He didn't understand the mechanics of cell site power location information. He was using burner phones. The burner phone doesn't lead them anywhere. One day he goes to lunch, he finishes eating, takes the pizza box with the unfinished crust, throws it in the trash can. So now the authorities go and they grab the box, they grab the crust. Now they were able to definitively prove
that's his DNA.
They brought in a team of inspectors that conducted highly sophisticated forensic examination of his digital records, and they were able to extract a deleted file. The authorities call it the murder matrix.
Welcome to a brand new podcast. I'm Bubba. This is Pete, or that's Pete, and I'm Bubba. It's called Deadly Intentions, and this is our first one. So hopefully you subscribe and like and all that great stuff. Share, tell your friends how cool we are. I am a longtime radio personality and natural host, and Pete is a longtime pretty knowledgeable about a lot of different areas. Pete and I could talk for 4 hours. Like yesterday, we were actually talking for like as much as we talked yesterday. Pete, I wish we would have been recording it all because we got into some deep cartel stuff. And Pete, everything from the cartel to serial killers to mob hits to money laundering to drug trafficking. Pete has seen and done most of that. I think it's safe to say. So I think you're going to like this podcast. It's called Deadly Intentions, and that's such a broad umbrella that we can talk about anything. And I think that's where we're going to be headed. We might talk about serial killers. We might talk about the cartel and anything. And this particular week, because his sentencing just went down
tomorrow.
Yeah, it's top. It's really part of the news cycle, and that's the Gilgo Four, the guy named Rex
Heuermann.
Yeah, and was this big 6'2", 6'3" accountant from New York, architect from New York, and is considered a serial killer. Isn't that right?
Well, yes. Rex Heuermann was arrested in April 2023, and he has been charged and pled guilty to unaliving 7 women, and he admitted to an 8th. And of course, now the process is playing itself through right now for him to be getting sentenced. And by the time the show gets released, of course, he will have been sentenced and he'll receive, multiple life sentences.
And because it's New York, he won't get the death penalty. If it was in Georgia, Florida, one of the red states,
he'd be in a much more different.
He'd be in Sparky, or I guess they do lethal injection. Has he been tried on that 8th, or is that just fodder for this point?
During the course of his plea negotiation process, he'd already been charged for the 7. And ultimately, he fought the case for essentially 3 years. And then he confessed to his wife while he was in pretrial custody. She reported the confession. And by this point, the evidence was staggering. And so it looked like he was getting ready to settle the case anyway. And so he decided that as part of his plea negotiation back and forth, he indicated that there was an 8th woman that they hadn't linked to him. Now, there are still other women. This area in Long Island, this Ocean Parkway area, where it's kind of marshy, kind of swampy. Mm-hmm. And so it turned out that he was dumping the women that he was responsible for there, but there were other women also found. Like there was
from other bad guys.
Yeah, so there's well over 10 people that were discovered.
So did he have a pattern where he pretty much dumped in the same area?
Yeah. Like the first 4 women were found within a 500-foot radius of one another.
Did he have a liking to like brunettes or? Now
you're dealing with the victimology, and yes, he had a specific. The physical characteristics were they tended to be smaller. One was like 4'10", one was 4'11".
Petite,
tiny little women, and of course, he's 6'4".
Right, big dude. By serial killer standards.
Well, I don't have a baseline to evaluate that, but I'm saying he was.
Yeah. You don't usually think of a serial killer as being a big dude. You think of him as kind of a
From the historical information indicated that he was raised, his father was military, passed away in 1975 when he was 12 years old. He was raised by a mother who was a little bit domineering. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes that has a psychological effect on these guys. And he's just, your quintessential, what was the movie? The Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
The guy that had the affinity for the mom, a little bit beyond normal.
I forget what that was called, but
Psycho.
And then the infamous bathtub scene, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I got a trivia question for you. You may not know. If you know this one, Pete, then I'm just going to we're done. We're done. Do you know it was shot in black and white?
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what they had to use for blood in the bathtub?
No.
Hershey's syrup.
Wow.
It would be the only thing that wouldn't resonate. So when they were doing that scene and he was in the bathtub and you could see the blood going down the drain, sure. They used Hershey's syrup. I got one on you, Pete. I got one on you. Yeah.
So the red would the
red wouldn't contrast on black and white, but the
syrup would have the reddish hue in black and white.
And once it got a little bit watery, then it had the consistency of blood. Like it wasn't. They didn't throw big hunks of it out. But that's one you didn't know, Pete.
Of course, yes.
So let's start the Rex deal.
Okay, well, with respect to Heuermann, you have what are essentially two periods. You had from 2007 to 2010, in which 4 women.
Now, what year was his first one?
1993.
Oh my God, 93.
Yes, he was a 27-year-old on his first one. And you had the earlier run was from 1993 to 2003. So it was a 10-year period. The second period was from 2007 to 2010. And that was a subsequent 4 women.
Now, 2010 was his last one.
Yes.
What made him stop?
There was an incident in the area unrelated to Heuermann where an escort, we usually use that term, I don't want to get struck by the, the algorithm. A worker, a woman who's
a woman of the evening.
Yeah, providing. So she met with an individual for a commercial transaction, mm-hmm. and she had
for a date.
They characterize them as dates.
Yeah, dates.
Yeah, and so during the course of her quote unquote date, she had an incident where she tried to flee. She takes off and she makes a phone call to the authorities, saying, "Hey, the guy's trying to harm me." Blah 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 blah.
And this is in the Gilgo area.
This is in the area in Long Island.
Right.
They haven't really identified where she was. Okay, so then you had the authorities don't respond in a timely manner. Subsequent to this incident, she obviously wasn't harmed at that point because she subsequently posted new ads on Craigslist.
Right.
She supposedly had a subsequent date, and then she came up missing.
After this incident?
Yes, her name was Shannan Gilbert. So while they're looking, so now this is in May of 2010. 6 months later, they don't. She's a missing.
May 2010.
She's a missing person.
6 months later, she's now missing.
She's firmly missing.
Right.
But and this is one of the things Heuermann exploited. And we're not children. We understand that there's an economics to law enforcement.
Yeah.
And there's a limited amount of resources, and quite frankly, they aren't going to dedicate a large amount of scarce resources.
This isn't a councilwoman.
Well, yeah,
this is
if it was a
woman that's selling dates.
Yeah, if it was a suburban mom with 3 kids who came up missing, you'd have the entire New York Police Department tearing the city apart.
Helicopters,
FBI, everything. But here's someone
This is a girl that's selling dates.
Yeah, she's selling dates, and quite frankly, she came down from, if you got a woman that comes from Maine to New York City, well, maybe she hooked up with a guy, and now she's in Puerto Rico, or maybe she's in California.
And like you said, the resources just don't really dome themselves to be really worried about
it. It's not an equitable distribution of the resource.
Right.
And so when she came up missing after the initial call, then there's evidence indicating that she hadn't left. Then now she does come up missing. 6 months later, you have a officer that's patrolling the area with a cadaver dog.
Mm-hmm.
They're still looking for her, but it's but the dog, while in the course of conducting this search in this area
for this
for Miss Gilbert,
this party girl,
right? The dog has a positive indication with respect to a different cadaver. It's a different woman,
not the one they're looking for.
Not the one they're looking for. One of the one Heuermann unalive.
That freaks Heuermann.
Yeah, that's why he gets spooked up, because now all of a sudden, because within a several day period, they discover 1 woman, 2 women, 3 women, 4 women.
Oh, so he has to shut it down.
Yeah, at this point, he's got to shut it down. Now you've got 4 people. Then, of course, over the course of the next few months, they find another 10 women.
Right.
But they're not his women.
Did they ever? Did they ever find the initial one that was a party girl that we're talking about earlier?
I don't know the answer to that question, and quite frankly, she just triggered the event. So unrelated to.
So they found more bodies than Rex unalived.
Yes.
there's a surplus of unalive people that Rex didn't do.
Yeah, it was like the local dumping ground.
Wow. Now, have they subsequently...
Well, that's part of why the reason the investigation kind of went sideways, because they were able to identify who was responsible for 2 of them. And so now, of course, in the midst of the investigation, they were able to solve 2 of them with some other individuals. So now they're thinking, well, maybe he's responsible for all of them.
Right.
So the investigation reorients in that direction.
And at this point,
it turned out to be a wild goose chase because they were able to exclude him from the other ones.
So
now they're back to square one.
So initially, when they find the 10 or so unalive bodies in a relatively close area,
sure,
Gilgo Beach.
That's Gilgo Beach.
So Rex, at this point, they find this other dude they're gonna put 2 on.
Yeah. So between December 2010 and the spring of 2011, they find all the women.
Which is
not all women too. One of them is a man, but who was a cross-dresser.
Okay, right.
And then one of them was an infant.
Oh.
Who turned out to be the son of one of the women.
Oh.
Unrelated, I think, to Rex also.
That's terrible.
I know, it's
that's
terrible.
horrible.
Yeah, horrible. And so now,
so is there anybody that's freaking out saying, okay, we got Rex here and we got to put 7 or 8 on his tab?
Well, they're still looking to see if they can link him to any of the other ones.
Okay. Because he's not confessing.
If he indicates that he was responsible for these 8, presumably he'd have said there was a 9th. Like at this point.
Right, at this point, I mean, you can't.
Yeah, it's just another strike.
You're going to get 400 years or 600 years, right?
It's just all multiple. Yeah, it's just all multiple life sentences.
So, but he's not working with them.
Well, the record hasn't given any indication, and at this point, no. Other than what is there to bargain for?
Yeah, I mean, other than maybe public perception, where you were giving some closure to a family as to potentially what happened.
These sickos don't.
Yeah, you're right, and probably a lot of these victims that are unalived, they probably come from not necessarily the best family background, and there's probably not a lot of people that really care about them in some instances.
No, surprisingly, there was
some that were
because it was his profile, in addition to targeting women that tended to be more physically petite, was also younger, and so the 4 from 2007 to 2010 were between the ages of 22 and 27. 27 is not necessarily a kid anymore. No. 22-year-old is so dumb as a box.
The difference between 22 and 27
is substantial.
If you take just our lives, Pete, and what we knew at 22 and what we knew at 27, you wish you would have known at 22 what you knew at 27 or had the life lessons.
Yes, sir. And so, but that was part of his profile. Younger women, physically small, who were from a vulnerable class of women.
He pretty much swam in the party girl pool.
Well, also because he was able to initiate contact with them in a way without having prior relationship. Like if you're going to seduce the neighbor, she knows you. But if you're just contacting Amanda from Connecticut,
New Jersey,
come on down,
right?
Because he lived on Long Island, but he worked in Midtown Manhattan,
right?
And so, like on one of the women, he said, "Hey, come on down. I'll pay you $2,500." Well. She jumps on the bus. She jumps on her train, and she comes down.
And he probably used the allure of I work in Manhattan, potentially as not a bargaining chip, but look at me kind of deal.
Well, yeah. Now you're getting into the perceptions of the women, and he was very successful in building a rapport, because if you look at it from their perspective, yes, they're in. One of them was a young mother with kids and flat broke, so she started doing this to earn money on the side. Like it's those kind of situations. Another one was just strung out, and she'd been engaging in this type of activity. Right. Her parents thought she was in rehab, and she's left rehab and gone to work doing this. That's why they didn't report her missing, because they thought she was getting through the program or whatever. Right. And so, but if you look at it, when he gets knocked off in 2023, so he was 59 years old. So his last incident, he was 47.
Right.
So between the ages of 44 and 47, what you have is your classic middle-aged guy
who's making good money,
living in Long Island. Mm-hmm. It's a upper middle class suburb.
Yep.
He's works in Midtown Manhattan, and so that profile indicates that someone like maybe she perceives him as first of all, he's a licensed architect.
Right.
He is involved in high profile. I mean, sure. he's a white collar professional.
Right.
So she's like, well, if you're gonna have a commercial relationship with someone that's your kind of profile. Oh, yeah. Middle-aged guy, married for 27 years.
Working in Manhattan.
2 kids. White collar professional.
It's almost like the all-American, hey, works in Manhattan, lives in Long Island, got a kid and wife.
Yeah, again,
that's very low risk for them, probably.
That's what from their perspective.
Yeah.
So they're like, the guy's got money, and maybe he's married to the same woman for 20 years.
Right.
He loves the wife, he loves the kids.
There's just no sexual spark. There's no
gone.
sexual spark left.
That's right. So he just wants to dabble a little bit.
And he's got the money.
And he's got the money. So he's able to create that level of comfort with them.
Sure.
Because he induces them to return with him to their family home. Like he's taking them to their house. To his house.
To his house.
Yes.
His Long Island home.
His Long Island home, because he built unaliving room in the basement.
So he had built a room specifically to do this sort of bad stuff.
So he would coordinate it, like when his wife and kids would go on vacation. Like at the last minute, I'm not going to be able to go. I got to do this project. So they go off to California for Disney.
I'd always wonder, Pete, where he did. Like, was it in the car? Or did he get hotels? But so probably a ton of evidence in the basement.
Once they were able to identify the location, yes, they were able to find forensic material. Initially, it's to discover the target.
Right.
Once you get to the target, then the evidence is going to flow naturally.
Right.
And so the race for a number of years was trying to get
in that building,
trying to get an identity of who the individual was.
Right.
And so with respect to the earlier question, the women, I believe, were comforted by the profile he presents. And now he didn't have just one-offs with the women. Like on one of the occasions, one of the women who had a roommate like drop her off at the Holiday Inn. So like, they'd have encounter.
Sure.
So
that was actually a question I was going to ask you. Were these all just one-timers, or he'd actually built up some trust, and maybe it was a 6th time or the 10th time, or multiple?
On one of the women, from the public record, it's clearly indicated that he was with her at the Holiday Inn. On a second woman who would entertain the guys at her apartment, he would have encounters there. So if you're... Again, they look at him as the mid-40s.
And they've built up a rapport.
That's right. So now she's been with them 3 or 4 times.
They really let their guard down.
Yeah, that's right. My wife's out of town. They're in Disneyland. Come out to the coast.
That was part of getting them. Is they've already let their defense down because you've had multiple dates with them.
Sure.
They know your background. You're an architect from Manhattan who lives in Long Island, whose wife is on vacation with your kids.
Yeah.
And we've had 6 or 7 other, however many
other encounters, to the point where now she's secure in the dynamic between the two of them. He's always paid. He's not physically abusive.
Right.
And also from his perspective, you got to understand, he has to maintain operational security.
Right.
Because when he goes and meets, let's say, the woman from the Holiday Inn, well, he doesn't know if she's showing up by herself. Does she have a roommate dropping her off? In which case, the roommate's going to see.
Gonna know.
Or let's say a lot of time, maybe she works for a service, and the service sends a driver out with her.
And there's record now of the driver.
The driver's going to be there. The driver will be there.
Right. Right.
Ostensibly to provide security, but he's just there to get the money from her. But now he doesn't. He has to know her well enough to know. Oh, what time's your friend going to pick you up? Oh, no, I took a taxi.
He has to almost know their backstory.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's why it's going to take a little bit of time to cultivate that information necessary for him to, 1, develop a rapport with her, and 2, determine the circumstances in which she's operating. Like, so when he's going to her place,
he knows
the apartment.
There's not a 6'8" guy behind the counter.
But the roommate had to leave.
Right.
And so, her roommate is the one that gave the physical description.
So that intel takes a long time.
That takes a little bit of time. Yes, of course.
Like you said, none of these are one-offs. None of them.
The ones
that you think that you know of.
Yes. Well, I can clearly indicate that at least 2 of them were rapport building.
Right.
And if you think about it logically, it would have to most likely be with that. I mean, what's the chances of a woman meeting you
in the basement of your?
I'll say, hey, I'm going to go with you to some house. Then you're like,
and then like she's when you bring her to your house, getting her to the basement's even like girls are like, well, hold on, we're going to right? Why aren't we going to the bedroom?
Yeah, and like on one of the women that he went out with on a couple of dates, and she wasn't unalived. She didn't have a third date.
Oh, so she didn't get...
So she gave insight. She shared her experiences. Like on the first one, they went to the movies.
Right. Which is completely rapport building.
Like a middle-aged, white guy, like, you know what, I'm tired of my wife's bullshit.
This guy had a long play.
Yeah, so let's go. I just want to hang out.
Yeah.
Another one called her, another one said they just called to hang out. We're just going to play. They played electronic poker. Like, nothing intimate.
Right. And that is really the long play.
That is the long play, yes.
Chicks dig in that whole party world atmosphere. They love a guy that just wants to hang out, not abuse them, not choke them out, not...
Well,
and then
and
build a
so-
rapport and be like, the movies or playing electronic poker, they're like, man, they totally, well, then the next time.
So they'll get, he is what the FBI characterized as an organized serial unaliver. He's not behaving impulsively. And the take-home point with respect to these men, as opposed to, let's say, like a mob hitman, like with respect to the weirdos, their use of violence is the purpose for their engaging in that conduct. They want the psychological gratification of the control. Like they're using violence for violence sake.
To euphorically stimulate them in whatever their sickness is.
Yes, because they construct this fantasy.
And
the woman's actually
is
the
just
target.
She's
a prop in his
she's just
elaborate fantasy.
She's a piece of the fantasy puzzle.
That's right.
Is premeditated used on any of the sentencing? I mean, is that?
It's all premeditated because
yeah,
it was,
right.
Yeah, he's
and
clearly,
aren't things usually, as far as in that world, when it's premeditated, that takes it to another level when it's premeditated, doesn't it?
It's going to be a first degree charge. I mean, it's in New York. It's the.
Do they put first degree premeditated? And a lot of times they'll
first degree is premeditated.
First, okay.
Yeah, it's
same thing.
Yeah, and so with respect to his ability to lay their concerns, I think, was central to his success, in conjunction with the fact that he was able to maintain what they call compartmentalization, because he was able to literally, he's the local architect, he's at the PTA meeting, he's at the parent-teacher conference, like he's involved in local civic activities.
Right.
And so, like, nobody, no one's looking at him as being somehow suspicious.
Mm-mm.
Like, literally, people are just stunned. Like, this guy's been living here for 20 plus years. He's married. He's got kids. Like, That's what's going on. You would think it would be someone a little bit on the seedier side. And the street criminal guys, they behave impulsively. This individual illustrated a significant amount of control because for him, they're predators, and the chase is the gratification.
High.
Is the gratification.
Right.
And because of his ability to, he create the little unaliving room, create the scenarios to get the women back there.
Now, did the wife know anything about the unaliving room?
Well, no, because he would convert the basement into it. So she goes to Disney World with the kids. I got to stay with this project in New York. Take the kids, go away. We're not going to cancel our vacation. Go. So
the unaliving room wasn't necessarily a permanent fixture.
No,
he would turn it into a very temporary thing based on as needed.
Yes. And so, the wife's going to be gone for 5 days.
He has
But he knows 3 weeks out, the wife's going to be on vacation. He knows what he's going to do. So he's already cultivating.
He's all setting it up, getting it ready, probably reaching out to said girl.
Yep.
Setting up a party or a date, if you will.
Well, yeah, and this is where he got he was a little too smart for his own sake. He didn't understand the mechanics of cell site tower location information because he was using burner phones. And so, of course, people think that, obviously the burner phone, the authorities aren't going to be able to link that phone to, if you got a burner phone, they're not going to link it to you.
That's the art of the burner phone.
Okay, but they know that the women from 2007 to 2010, this all took place in an era where people were already carrying phones. Like the woman in 93, few people were like...
Right. Hardly anybody's got a phone.
Guys like me were carrying cell phones.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Otherwise you're not going to have...
Right.
Yeah, and so...
The average party girl and the average male, they're not going to be carrying cell phones.
And so, but now the latter Ford, they were carrying phones. And so once the women come up missing, the authorities are able to go pull the telephone tone records from each one of their phones. They're not burner
from
phones,
the victims.
From the victim's phone.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're going to be able to say, okay, this woman's got 19 different phone numbers she's calling.
And they start picking them off.
They start identifying each one of these. Who are all these people? So now they're going to be able to get a profile, identification list of all the people, and they're going to say, and 3 of them are burner phones.
Right.
But the burner phone doesn't lead them anywhere.
Is a burner phone for the authorities kind of a dead end sometimes?
No, because what they're able to do now is they're going to say, okay, well, how many times did she call this? Because the burner phone calls her. She calls the burner phone back. So now they got the burner phone's number. They go get the burner phone's telephone toll records.
Right.
So they're going to say, okay, well, this phone is only calling her.
Right.
That's not a normal.
So they get the records on the burner.
On the burner phone, they're able to say, okay,
now they can see the burner and everything that the burner is.
When did the phone become active?
Right.
So 3 weeks before her disappearance, let's say, the phone becomes active.
Right.
Only being used to call her. So that's one data point. The second data point is they're able to track that phone's movements.
The burner.
Because they have the information. So now they're going to be able to say, hey, well, this guy is making calls to the unalived woman, or the missing woman at this point, from Midtown Manhattan.
During the day.
Well, that's not a residential. It's business hours, Midtown Manhattan.
That's when he's doing his architect gimmick.
He had his architect's office right there.
Right.
And because he would take the train, the subway into the city, he would walk to go make the phone calls.
Right. So he had a certain amount of blocks he had to get on the subway.
All the phone calls made on the burner phone are taking place within this cell tower's geographical area.
Right. Because cell towers will hand you off to different cell towers as you're traveling to get a stronger signal.
Yes. And so now they're able to say, okay, well, he makes the bulk of his calls during business hours from the burner phone in this particular area. It doesn't identify anything, but it creates a geographical profile.
Right.
Business hours.
They have a radius of where that is.
That's right. So business hours, he's in Midtown.
So then as he goes home, they switch off to towers and towers and towers.
Now the phone ends up in Long Island.
The burner phone.
Now he's not calling the woman with his wife sitting right there. So let's say he says, "Hey, honey, I got to go to the drugstore pick up my prescription."
Absolutely.
He jumps in the car, drives a few blocks. Now he's using the phone again.
Right.
And
But it's showing Long Island.
So there's another tower. That's
right.
So
or at least in that vicinity.
In this vicinity. So they're like, okay.
So they're going here. And
that's right. So the calls are being concentrated along the Long Island area and the Midtown Manhattan area with respect to unalived woman number one.
Right.
Completely independent of her. Because now you got like one unalived woman from Connecticut.
Right.
Her family files the missing persons report in Connecticut. Independent of that, you got a woman from Maine.
Right.
Totally separate investigation.
Missing persons.
Missing person. But now they start saying, hold on a second, her phones
has this
calls Midtown Manhattan, Long Island.
And it might even be a different burner number.
But yes, it is. He's using different burner phones for each woman.
Oh, okay. So
he thinks he's insulating it.
You would think that. So if you're a bad guy, you're instantly thinking, man, I got 7 different burner accounts. They're never going to find me.
Yes, but what they did is they created a geographical profile saying these 4 women are in contact with 4 men who coincidentally happen to make all their calls from this radius or this radius. This is a residential community.
Exclusively.
This is a residential community.
Yep. And this is a Manhattan downtown district.
Downtown, which is a business district.
Right.
And so now you're starting to say, okay, well, now you're starting to see the outlines.
And a pattern.
Because first, it's also a profile because who lives in this area of Long Island? Well, it's a fairly well-to-do area. Bankers at one of the banks in New York, accountants, lawyers.
They rodeoed him up from the cell phone.
Well, they identified a geographical.
Was that step 1, Pete?
This is the objectively verifiable evidence.
Okay.
It doesn't rely on witnesses saying anything. This is something you can prove through telephone toll records. You can conduct a forensic examination. We know that 4 phones were used from Long Island.
And what kind of evidence you call that?
Forensic. It's objectively verifiable.
Right. So it's like there's no witnesses. It is what it is.
That's right.
It is what it is.
That's right.
And it's the truth.
That's the baseline.
Right.
So you have now they hadn't at this point necessarily connected them all together.
No. And they didn't have any idea who it was.
Yeah, they had no idea who it was.
Rex.
Yeah, that's right. So now, independent of that, because of the lack of law enforcement enthusiasm for a number of years.
Mm-hmm. A lot of years.
And in conjunction with that, you had a circumstance where the sheriff in, Suffolk County?
Yeah, Suffolk.
Okay. He thwarted the ability of the FBI to come on board.
Wasn't there a whole big whodunit within that world, in the law enforcement world? There's a whole nother layer to this. He ended up
becoming the suspect.
The sheriff did?
Yes, the sheriff wouldn't allow the FBI to come in and participate. So, turns out the sheriff had nothing to do with the unalivings, but he was involved in corruption and criminal activities.
Oh, okay. Like on a...
But that's all he said. So he's like, no, we don't need the FBI. We don't need the FBI around here.
And it's not because of the unaliving.
Got nothing to do. Yeah, but of course.
It just has to do with his extracurricular activities and
ultimately, it becomes a red flag because the person that was able to...
Now, did he catch a charge?
He gets charged in connection with...
Something else.
Yeah. Corruption-related matters in violation of civil rights.
But I guess as a sheriff, that's a red flag as a sheriff when the feds are coming in to check, some multiple bodies that are no longer with us, and it's a really kind of a big deal, and the sheriff does not want to cooperate or give you his resources. That's a red flag in itself.
That's a red flag
in itself.
Which is why they were saying, well, perhaps
this guy's in on it.
Maybe he's in on it because the person that managed to avoid detection all the time, maybe it's a cop. In California, there was a famous case with the scumbag named D'Angelo, who was a police officer who was the Golden State unaliver.
That would be a good episode to get into cop unalivers, meaning people that have,
he recently.
Is there quite a bit of those? Police officers that have done.
I'm from California,
right?
So
right.
I'm familiar with the D'Angelo case, of course, but it's all over the damn news. But yes, but that's an illustration of where you can say, hey, well, someone with that particular skill set would understand how to hide evidence.
So listen, Pete, I think it's December of 2011 was person unalive v. victim 1, I think, right? And
December 2010.
Of 2010.
She was discovered.
I said 11. 2010, she was discovered. Now, how did that person 1 trigger this whole avalanche of stuff?
Well, at the time, there was the missing persons with respect to the 4 women that had been filed by their respective families.
But they're just missing at this point.
At this point, they're just missing. And again, they were what you referred to as the party girls. Consequently, the authorities are like, hey, look, we need something a little bit more concrete than someone who took off. She's a young woman. She's 23.
And like you said, Pete, a lot of these agencies and a lot don't have the resources to really worry about party girls.
That's right.
And party girls might be from out of town. And so
they may have just up and left. Now, on one of them, it was like suspicious because she was a young mother with a couple of kids. Well, she didn't come home. She's got kids.
Right.
If it's one thing, if it's a 22-year-old ends up in Vegas with some guy.
Right. But to have kids, most women have the motherly instinct and aren't scumbags.
Yeah, most. Yes. Most. And so there's why, with respect to the first one, her name was Melissa Bartholomew, from what I recall. And when they discovered her, this is where Heuermann really made a mistake because he was thinking he was cute with the burner phones, not realizing that that's objectively verifiable evidence with respect to geographical profiles and insight into him because he's using burner phones on a per woman basis, trying to compartmentalize.
But you would think that'd be, right?
He was
cute.
He was yes, but where he made a mistake, and this is where you can see the difference, like I said, between scumbag like this guy and just
Guido that's going out to kill Vinny.
Yeah. The guy from Jersey visiting a guy in Philly to resolve a headache.
Because he got a headache.
Yeah.
Hey, Vinny, go take care of the Antonio in South Philly because he's giving us a headache. You know what I'm saying?
But those guys don't
That's impulsive, and it happens the day of. They get the call.
Well, no, but it's not impulsive because they have no impulse to go do it. They received an order.
Right.
That's why it's the characteristic of the offender.
Right.
Like, if the guy...
They're following orders.
They're following an order.
Right.
Like, absent him getting an order, he's not going to Connecticut to go see some guy.
No.
And so, whereas with Heuermann, he unalived the woman, and he, as part of his compulsion, where he wants to be able to relive the experience and really shows you how sick he was, he kept her phone.
Oh.
Okay. So now the authorities, yes, because the family says she's missing. Well, they have her phone number. They know who she's calling.
Right.
They can identify the burner phone.
And geographically where they're
location. At. Well, after he unalives
V1
for Melissa, he keeps her phone and starts using it to call her sister to taunt the family.
I thought this guy was smart.
So, and this tells you a lot about the individual because from an operational perspective, it's all risk.
Oh, yeah.
No reward.
No reward.
So he's driven by a compulsive need to, relive his little ridiculous fantasy on the one hand, but also to exert dominance and manipulation and power. It's all control.
Yeah.
These are insecure men.
Right.
Who now, for the first time, are able to exercise a little bit of
and manipulate
power.
People, empower people, and get them scared.
And he's calling her 15-year-old sister.
With her phone.
With her phone. So now the authorities, they know that they don't know who's making the calls, but the calls are happening in Midtown
and Long
Island.
Which goes right along the lines.
Consistent with the burner phone. So now they say, okay, we know that she's calling burner phone number 1. Burner number phone 1 is operating in Midtown and Long Island. Now, suspect unaliver has the missing woman's phone. He's calling from Midtown and Long Island. Now they've got a pretty good idea that whoever at least unalived her,
right, which was the first one,
has to be living in this area,
right,
and working somehow in this area.
That was break number 1.
That was the huge break,
right? So Pete, had he not used victim 1's phone, there's a chance he may not be they may not have got him.
Yeah. Yes, you're correct.
Wow. And that was
because
all...
at this point, it's still 4 separate investigations.
Right.
Not realizing it's one guy.
Right. And so
then when the women, they discovered the 4 women in Gilgo Beach.
Because they discovered them one after the other, after the other.
And so now they're saying, well, hold on a second, what's your evidence? What's your evidence? What's your evidence? And now all of a sudden they're able to say, well, hold on a second, we're all having the same evidence leading to a profile of one individual using the Midtown and
and he thought he was cute because he had 8 different burners, but realized the burners don't lie when it comes to where they're being used at.
That's right.
So no matter what the number is, it's geographically in Manhattan during the day and Long Island in the evening.
Yes, and then of course when he used the Melissa's phone, that was the first concrete lead because the sister, of course, reported the information to the authorities.
Sure.
So they were like, look, because he's, your sister is a
whore, and
that's what he was saying. Are you going to be one yourself? And she's, she's unalived. Like, and I unalived her, and he's making all these type of statements, taunting the family,
trying to exert power and control
over her, the family, cause fear, and to manipulate, and kind of like mocking the authorities, almost even.
Right, catch me if you can,
kind of a thing. Yeah, that's right. And so that was a huge mistake on his part. Then, with respect to another one of the women, he didn't call making the same type of taunts.
Oh, but he kept her phone too on another.
We don't know if it was her phone. We just know that he called to let the person know that so-and-so is still alive, but she's working in a whorehouse in Queens. I just saw her.
Meanwhile, she's not alive.
Or she's not alive. You know what I mean? But I mean, so now that person's like, well, I got a call from some guy. So then they're like, okay, well, so now they're saying, okay, well, give me your phone number.
Right.
Okay, well, what are the numbers? Well, it was right after she went missing. When she go missing? Oh, May 1st. Okay, well, then you got to look around May 2nd, May 3rd, run all the numbers. Burner phone.
That geo target.
So now you've got 2 people whom he's not taunting or communicating
but made contact with.
And that way, now from the the profiling perspective, that tells you something, that this individual is doing so because he wants a compulsive form of gratification. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it.
No. Otherwise, if you were mindful of getting caught or mindful of doing this, giving them not the evidence, hand delivering them evidence, you don't call them.
Sure.
And they have to geo-target and start doing the burner phone locations in Manhattan, Long Island. That's what they got, but they don't have the separate call into sister, and family and things like that. And that was just all because of his sickness.
Yes.
Because there was no other reason to be doing that.
Compulsion.
Right.
Yeah, they just have a completely different psychological profile.
So they got the 2.
Okay, so they got the objectively verifiable evidence.
Right.
Once they find
I love when you say it. Objectively verifiable evidence, meaning it is what it is.
Right.
There's no refuting it. It's not a lie. It's the truth.
So then you've got the 4 women that they discover.
They get 4 at first.
They're all wrapped up, and first of all, they're all restrained using burlap straps.
Same straps on
all 4.
All 4.
So you got the same location for disposing of the bodies. All 4 of them were strangled. All 4 of them were restrained with the same burlap material.
So at this point, Pete, they got to know they got probably one dude here.
Yeah, and they're thinking whether it's one for the 4, and then 4 months later they find another 4. Then they find, they keep finding bodies in this area, for the next 18 months.
Some of which weren't. We're not burlap. We're different circumstances.
We're different circumstances.
But the ones that all matched his template.
You had at least those 4.
Right.
The Gilgo Four.
Right. The Gilgo Four.
Which is how they get that's a subset of the overall.
Right.
Because of those physical consistency.
So they got 4 on his tab with regards to the burlap, strangulation.
And so now, of course, the authorities are conducting, now that they're thinking, okay, we have a serial unaliver on our hands.
Right.
And so they were able to resolve 2 of them, like I said, with respect to a separate individual, which kind of detours the investigation, because now they're going all hands on deck to see if they could tie him to the other ones, but they exclude him from the other ones. So now they're kind of back to square one.
So they can put 2 on another dude, but they can't put
not out of the 4.
But
out of over the 10 plus, they were able to put 2 on the other guy. So then they're saying, well, there's a consistency between them. with respect to the burlap. So they start trying to identify, well, where's the source of the burlap coming from?
Like a store or...
So and once they identify the store, so either the guy that works at the store, maybe the serial unaliver, or he's selling it.
Right.
To whoever.
So now they go get...
They got a lead.
They maybe go get videotape of the people.
So they go and they talk to the guy who's responsible for selling the burlap. They initiate contact with him. He's like, yeah, come on in. I'll talk to you guys. But before they have a chance to meet with him, he unalives himself.
The guy who sold the burlap straps? Really?
Yes. So now, naturally,
well, that throws him for a
you're
loop.
a detective, they're thinking he might be the guy.
Well, that's the guy. I mean,
once he realized they were on to him, he unalived himself.
Well, you would absolutely think that.
Of course, it's natural. So now, of course, look.
A lot of people don't know that, Pete. Is that
law enforcement don't believe in coincidences?
No.
Of course, we all know coincidences happen, but the probability of them being a coincidence has to be discounted until proven otherwise. Well,
but that throws a real wrench.
That throws a wrench in it. So now they're like, oh, we got another suspect. So they got to dedicate all this investigatory effort
to look into that
guy, and then they clear him.
Okay.
Like, we don't know why he unalived himself. We just know that he did.
Right.
And so now it's like, now they're back.
A lot of people didn't know that.
Now they're back to square one.
You're hearing that first right here on this podcast. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah. So now they're back to square one.
Right.
Okay. So now what's another piece of evidence besides the burlap? While they're conducting the forensic examination of the women and the material, they were able to discover 2 human hairs. Now the human hairs were from different people. So it wasn't
same human hair on 2.
The same person. But nevertheless, there's 2 separate human hairs. That's another piece of objectively verifiable evidence.
Complete DNA.
So then the FBI gets involved with the investigation. Finally, they're able to get on board in 2015. They put together a task force. They're going to bring in a fresh set of eyes. And so they decide, okay, well, we're going to focus.
So again, we're 5 years removed. First one was in 10.
Yeah.
It
was from 2007 to 2010.
Right.
The first discovery was in 10. So he's on hold. He stopped. Once they just started discovering the bodies, he stopped. So
like you said, he went.
He exercised the measure of control.
13 years or 12 years in between his last one and when they finally hooked him.
Yeah. He was, scared straight, essentially.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah.
And so they got the 2 hairs. They've got the burlap. They got the geographical record. They bring in the FBI. They're going to do a comprehensive review, go back, revisit everything. Obviously, the quality of the initial investigations was a little suspect because it's a party girl. They didn't invest all that much investigatory effort. Right. So they go back, and the roommate of the woman who's using her own apartment for her dates that had left while Heuermann came over.
Right.
Well, she had seen Heuermann.
The roommate had seen him. Yeah,
and so she's like, I don't know what the guy's name was, but she was entertaining a guy. But he didn't get unalive. She didn't get missing at that episode. It was later.
Right.
It was just one of her Johns,
and probably one of a few times he'd seen her.
Well,
Rex.
One time.
Oh, that was a one time.
One time.
Okay.
Yes, and so it was. But she's like, hey, look, he was physically a big guy, so white guy. So they know. Okay.
So now they
Caucasian.
Again, they just start narrowing it down. They just start
narrowing it down.
So now we got white.
And she said,
so that takes every.
He was a physically big guy. She characterized him as kind of looking like an ogre.
Yeah. So now you got white guy, big guy,
physically imposing, middle-aged.
Those are 3 great clues.
So now you can start gives you a basis. Yeah. Now, but they don't know if it's him.
They're not going to go after you. You're a littler guy. You're not 6'4".
Yeah, that's right.
And physically imposing, and you don't look like an ogre. Yeah, so they can automatically. Everybody looks like you.
Start filtering.
All right.
Well, it becomes important in a minute now because now they got that one physical description.
Big.
Okay. Now.
Did she say ogre?
Yeah, she called him ogre-like.
Right.
She said 6'2" to 6'3", 6'4".
And he is ogre-like if you look when you see him in the news.
Because he gets arrested in 23. She's discussing events that happened 13 years earlier. So he's not that 60-year-old guy. He was in his mid-40s.
Right. When she saw him. Right.
Okay, so she couldn't recall.
But you can't. Age doesn't take away ogreness, does it?
No, it doesn't take away ogreness. Yeah, so there's a.
You'd be 80 and still an ogre.
There's a physical profile that he's not going to be able to.
That's probably a big break for them.
Well, the big break is they go and they interview the individual who gave another one of the women a ride to the Holiday Inn.
Okay.
Because he said that the guy that she met, he said he was a white guy, but he was sitting in the car. So he couldn't say ogre-like or anything. Just a white dude. Some white dude.
Yeah.
But he was driving a green Chevy Avalanche. And that was the first generation of the Avalanche.
Right. They had the was a pickup truck was like a was an Avalanche was like a pickup truck that was like an SUV.
Yeah, I don't.
They're very unique looking, especially the first gen.
Okay,
of them.
so yes. So now, once they got that information, now the FBI goes back to wherever their operational headquarters were, and they say, okay, well, we've got green Chevy Avalanche. And what most people don't realize is the authorities have access, of course, to complete DMV databases.
Right.
And they have very sophisticated search protocols.
Right.
And so they were able to say, identify all green Chevy Avalanches registered
in Long Island. And that unbelievably pinpointed search could give you 4, 5.
Let's say it's 20. Let's say it's 25.
Right.
It doesn't matter because what they're looking for is
a large
white guy.
White guy. So if half of the Avalanches are owned by Hispanics and black guys,
you don't exclude him because maybe the black guy let one of his white friends drive it. But on the basis right now, on the spectrum of probability, it's the lesser end.
Right.
Let's focus on.
Let's see if there's a home run in here.
Let's see. That's right. So let's say, look, okay, so you can exclude. If it's 6 women that own them, well, if they're not married,
no.
They go on the lower end because maybe their husband used it or maybe her boyfriend used it. But let's focus. So they were able to say Rex Heuermann owned a green Chevy Avalanche. He lives in the area and he works in Midtown.
Now, was one of those his hairs?
So now they have circumstantial evidence. Well, they have eyewitness testimony, which is notoriously unreliable. Yeah. That's why it's not objectively verifiable.
Right.
But presumably, the individual say, hey, look, it's a green Chevy Avalanche. And since it was, had the individual said it was a Corvette, well, that's been in production for 70 years.
Right. Avalanches were brand new.
Brand new.
Or within 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so it was that first gen.
And it was first gen.
So they were saying, okay, well,
that's a very minute body style. Yeah. Like you said, they weren't in production for 40 or 50 years, like a Mustang or a Corvette,
So then they were able to say, okay, well, we've got a list of individuals that are on suspect status given the ownership of Chevy Avalanches in this area.
Right.
So then they start whittling it down. Like, well, one of them turns out, of course, to be Rex Heuermann. So now they're watching him, but married for 27 years.
Couple kids.
Nice suburban home. And I mean, it wasn't as nice as the other people.
Right. I heard he'd let it run down a little bit. But the area was pretty fluent.
Money on the party girls.
Right.
He's dropping $2,500
instead of for a new gutter system and shingles. He's gone out with party girls.
Yeah,
so there was a reason that actually the dilapidation of the home actually kind of solidified their story in the fact that the average guy like me and you are going to be like, when our shingles fall off and we're going to get it fixed because we're not hooking up with $3,000 party girls.
That's right.
We're going to go get a new gutter.
Yeah, that's right.
This guy, I remember the whole house had fallen around because he spent his money on party girls.
His family's in financial challenges because he's
got this
frittering away money trying to create this profile.
And party girls ain't cheap, Pete.
That's right. Yeah, I can imagine.
We can testify to that.
And so once they get their bead on him, so now they're like, okay, well, how do we establish who the direct contact? Because they can't go to the guy who sells the burlap because he unalived himself.
Right.
And so then they're watching Heuermann, and one day he goes to lunch. He finishes eating, takes the pizza box with the unfinished crust, throws it in the trash can. So now the authorities go and they grab the box, they grab the crust.
Can they get DNA off of like I guess
your saliva from eating?
Yeah,
that's right. So they take that DNA, right, and they take when they got the hair,
right.
They took the hair and they ran, independent of all this, they took the hair, they ran it through DNA, and the DNA came back positive of Heuermann.
From the pizza crust?
No, not before that, because the daughter had sent in an ancestry type thing.
Oh, the daughter, it's like a 23andMe gimmick or something like that.
So they were able to get that. So they were saying, okay, well, the hair belongs to this family.
People don't realize that the 23andMe, they work with the feds.
Yeah, of course, anything is accessible to you.
I did that too. I'm afraid they're going to pin something on me, Pete.
And so once they were able to, so you got all these investigatory reports converging. You got the green.
And it just starts going like
this. The green
this.
Avalanche, the positive identification DNA-wise.
From the pizza crust, the hair.
From the daughter's ancestry.
Oh, the ancestry.
Then they get the pizza crust, and they're able to say, okay, well, that hair was his.
Right.
Like the hair was consistent with the family given the ancestry, but now they were able to definitively prove
That's his DNA
That's it.
because we got a pizza crust.
We got the pizza crust guy.
So now, is that when they swoop in and get him?
They arrest him shortly thereafter. They get him coming out of a McDonald's.
When they got him, Pete, how many did they have on it? Did they rack him up on?
Initially 4. Then they added 2 more. Then, like I said, he stayed in pretrial custody for 3 years.
Which means he's not getting out. I mean,
he's not getting up because, of course, the gravity of the charges.
Right.
So he's on no bail status. But he had a defense team, and quite frankly, there was the one hair that they could link from the burlap, and then the second hair that wasn't his was his wife's.
So it just was like on his.
He transferred it, a secondary transfer.
Right. Like from his code or from
whatever.
wherever.
And so now they're able to say, okay, well, that definitively.
Well, that's him.
That's him.
Right.
Because the wife, during the time period that each of the 4 women are gone, like she's in California at the San Diego Zoo.
Right. And they investigated all that, too.
Of course, they already determined if she's in Disney World.
Now, when do they go, Pete, and go from when they grabbed him at McDonald's to that probably then gave them probable cause to go to the home?
Yes.
After they had him in custody.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, he could have gone there and
so then they go into they conduct.
So they got to catch him at McDonald's, like him not suspecting anything.
Yeah, they arrest him.
Right.
Then of course they're going to get search.
Right.
Okay. Independent of all this, once they got the lead on him through the various convergences, they issue a subpoena. They get his search record from his computer at work.
Oh.
This sicko's looking at all kinds of crazy things.
Craig, and he's got all the party girls' information.
Not just that, but it was like one of the inquiries he made is like, how long does it take for someone to unalive through strangulation? So they're like, oh, okay. And he had like really violent videos of pornographic nature where the women were getting harmed. And he even had an indication from one of the records that he was looking at stuff involving minors. So then they're like, so when it all comes together, they're like, he has the profile, he has the geographical, he has the DNA with respect to the hair, he's got the inquiries into, and outside the average.
All this stuff was unbeknownst to him.
Oh, yeah.
As they're looking at all this stuff.
Right. He's coming out of McDonald's.
Now, did they have to get with his employer, or were they able to go back door?
No, they just go to issue a subpoena.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, they'll just go to Google and say, give us his entire history.
You don't even have to know about it. Yeah, I mean, they could be doing that.
Yeah, of course.
Unbeknownst to you.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where they found all of his search history and stuff.
Found all that search history. So now they're able to say, okay, well, this is someone who has a inclination, opportunity, interest in this type of sick and sadistic and demented behavior, and the events coincided with the wife being out of town. So
that's for the 4.
That's for the 4. So then they go and they get the search for the house. They go into his house, and while doing so, remember the unaliving room is just the normal. The kids
Monday through Friday when the kids are there.
The man cave, or they're watching TV.
Right.
Like he's unaliving these people in the house where his kids are sleeping.
Right.
When they're gone.
So just as the kids were to be there, the unaliving room wasn't necessarily anything that they would know about, because it was
his man cave essentially.
He would then set it up to be to do that stuff.
So what they did though, they brought in a
cadaver dogs,
team of inspectors that conducted really highly sophisticated forensic examination of his digital records, and they were able to extract a deleted file that was literally an unaliving matrix. Where he identifies like 5 areas or 4 areas of inquiry, where he's literally saying, well, watch out for the forensics, watch out for witnesses. Like
like a playbook.
Yes, they say at one time, because I don't want to get struck with the algorithm, the authorities call it the murder matrix.
Right.
And he's literally saying, because on some of the earlier ones, to try to avoid detection, like he cut off the hands. Like he had like heavy equipment, like the
chainsaws and
like sawzaws, kind of.
Right. To do such a thing.
But he on his matrix.
Meanwhile, he wasn't a carpenter.
Yeah, well, no, he was a carpenter.
Oh, he was.
He was a carpenter and an architect.
Oh, and an architect. Okay.
So he used his experience as a carpenter
to
be able to
do various stuff, or had tools of carpentry to be able
familiarity with them.
Right.
Like, I can't change a spark plug, so I wouldn't be able to.
Right. I give you a sawzall, Pete. You'll be like everywhere, right?
And so when they got that matrix,
which was a deleted file.
So that's strong consciousness of guilt.
Now, what are we looking at? Was this
four first degrees at this point?
Now, but what's the time frame? Is this early 2023?
2023.
So early 2023 is when the
hammer gets dropped on him.
Shit hits the fan.
Yeah. Then subsequent
for him.
Yes.
Right.
Then as the investigation,
and they initially had 4.
They had the 4, and then of course it's all hands on deck to try to link him to the other ones.
Right. And at that point, what was their surplus of unalived people they found in Gilgo Beach?
Well, it's still because he ended up admitting to 8. You had 2 with the other guy. That's 10. You're talking like at least another 4 to 6.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That are completely unsolved.
Mm-hmm. Unsolved. Like one is the mother child.
Right. They don't know.
They don't know
about that. What a sick.
And the other one is the Asian man
who
was a cross-dresser.
Right.
And so that's obviously
3.
Yeah. So that but that could be involving one of these weirdos. But on the other hand, they haven't been able to link it to him yet.
Right. Have they subsequently say, okay, we got 8 of these, not 10, because the 2 and then the 8 from.
Well, they're still looking.
Rex.
They're still that investigation.
But I mean,
is
like
still
I thought
ongoing.
maybe they would kind of put their guard down a little bit because because they kind of found their serial guy.
Well, yeah, only because he is. Once you identify, you have the MO, which is his method of operation.
Mm-hmm.
Targeting these particular women, that particular group, using the burner phones, using the unaliving room in the house.
Right.
Because, like, that house was his mother's house. He bought it from her.
Right.
So he had that house going back to when he was 27.
Right.
So, like, that's his comfort zone where he's comfortable being able to do those kind of activities at that house. From the authorities' perspective, well, on every one of the family's vacations that he didn't go on, people come up missing. Well, what's the likelihood of him doing otherwise? Like, there's a good chance he didn't do any other ones. That's what I'm saying.
Right,
But
right.
the opportunities weren't present.
Right.
And
right.
after 2010, when the incident involving Ms. Gilbert occurred, and they found the first one, Bartholomew, it appears that he stopped.
Here's what a lot of people don't realize is that he stopped in 2011, right? 2010. 2010. 13 years those bodies sat. No. They dug them up. They had them dug up in 10 and 11. That's when they found the bodies.
That's when they found
but
them.
for 12 to 13 years, it was a cold case that they couldn't find. And so did they have to still, when you have a body that you find like at Gilgo Beach, do they have to maintain those those corpses and those skeletons? I mean, do they, in order to be able to continue to test them?
I'm sure that during the course of the autopsy, that's all going to be documented with photographs. They don't need to.
Right.
I'm sure that they could give them, a burial. That's not.
So, Pete, I watched the doc and I think the podcast here has really gotten into some things that the doc didn't get into. For instance, I don't think the doc got into the guy unaliving himself from the burlap straps. I don't know with that. So this is some great insight. But I do know one thing, that the media and the authorities were really making this guy out to be like, some kind of son of brilliant kind of Hannibal Lecter, some brilliant unaliver. And, what was he really?
I mean, look, he exhibited a measure of control from the time they discovered the women in 2010 to now. He hasn't engaged in any additional conduct. So he's able to control himself. And it occurred his activity occurred from 93 to 2010, which is a 17-year span. And with respect to the earlier ones, that was an analog world.
That's a very good description. There's a whole different.
Yes, now that things are digital, it's law enforcement investigatory tactics are much more
Pete,
sophisticated.
you said, how many people had cell phones in 93 compared to 07, 08?
Yes.
Everybody had one in 07, right? Nobody had one in 93, which was his first one. So was he that? I mean, you said he was controlled.
He was able to, once the technology and the investigatory sophistication caught up, he wasn't able to hide.
Right. He wasn't as smart as he thought he was.
He was able to get away with it up until, obviously the FBI came in and they put together a task force where they went in it with a complete new set of eyes. Because, if you look at it from the local authority perspective, like, yes, they want to resolve the case. But on the other hand, it's like these women kept getting unalived because you didn't make the effort on the front end.
Right.
Like some of them could have been saved had
Right.
you been a little more diligent.
A little proactive.
So there's like a little bit of a conflict of interest where look, but don't look too hard.
Because these are party girls and people don't really care.
So now
about
here you
it.
got. So when
If it was Carol who was a homemaker.
that'd be very different.
Right.
So once the FBI got involved and they brought in, the local detectives who obviously are always incentivized to try to solve the cases.
Right.
It's usually the people that are a little bit higher up that play the political game.
Mm-hmm. Much like the sheriff that eventually was caught for doing some shady stuff on the backside.
Yeah, so once the detectives were partnered in conjunction with the FBI, now they were saying, okay, go back, take a fresh set of eyes on everything. And then you got the identification of the Chevy Avalanche was huge.
Right. That's
massive break.
Yeah. That and his 2 mistakes of calling.
And then, of course, the mistakes of calling with respect to Bartholomew, because
And
now
then
they're able to
and then the
confirm
pizza
this
crust.
phone is being used
Now,
by the unaliver.
Now, Pete, isn't there, I've seen a lot of different, crime stuff and stuff on TV, but a lot of times where a guy or a person they know that they're being followed, or they know that they potentially are a suspect in a high profile situation, and they're mindful of the DNA they leave, and like they'll go to a restaurant and eat and then take their stuff all with them.
I don't know.
I've seen that a few times.
In real life or just in movies?
In movies.
Yeah, okay. That's a fairly high degree level of sophistication.
Because you'd have to know that they're on
the authorities are very
and we
good
probably
at being
leave DNA everywhere we go.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
you went to Starbucks today and had you thrown your cup into the trash, they would have got you.
Yeah, of course.
Of course you would have thrown it in the trash if you finished there, because you're not a suspect in anything and you haven't done anything, so your defense is down, right? So
sure. And part of his psychological profile, and keep in mind, the FBI has decades of experience targeting the serial unalivers.
Right.
And so they have the profile of the organized guys and then the disorganized guys.
Right.
And so they're very good at identifying the psychological traits.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the traits that he exhibited, consistent with all of the other individuals that would fall into this category, was he was monitoring the investigations. Like he was doing searches of himself.
Oh.
And doing searches of the investigation.
The situation.
So after the discovery of the women in 2010, he's going online. Like, what's going on over here? Like,
any information they would discern or get it let out, he would,
Well, no, they're able to determine from his search history
that he was searching.
He was searching
the
specific.
Right.
And so that's one data point. Then you got the green Chevy. Then you've got the geographical location. Then you got the DNA evidence. At some point, it's enough for a prosecutor to say, okay, go get this guy.
So the answer to the question is, I think you brilliantly said it, Pete, and that was he was smart until technology caught up to him.
Yes.
In the analog world, he probably would have got away with it.
Yeah, he was able to hide in the shadows.
Now, had he not killed after the analog world, he probably would still be a free man. Had he not...
Had he not resumed again in 2007.
Yeah, exactly. Had he just left the 93...
The 93 to 2003.
Yes.
Period. Yes.
Had he done that, and then they couldn't geo-target, they didn't have any analog world data at this point.
Because the first 4 women from 93 to 2003 weren't part of the Gilgo Four that were found originally.
Right. So that's what a lot of people don't understand. That is the Gilgo
Four
Four
were the 07 to 2010.
Right. That was the most recent. But if you roll it back, there's 3 or 4 additional.
4 additional one, but on these last 4,
and the analog world,
you could see the development of his desire to intensify the gratification, because now he's mocking family members. Like he escalated it beyond the actual physical act to now terrorizing the sister.
Right.
Contacting the roommate.
Almost taking it up a notch.
He did. So you can
almost
see,
like, unaliving people, sexually assaulting them, strangulating them, and all of the sick things that he did. That doesn't do it for me anymore.
That doesn't anymore. That's right.
I gotta play Catch Me If You Can with the family. Yeah. I gotta invoke power and pain.
Very
on
similar
people.
to the guy, Dennis Rader, who was the BTK unaliver in Kansas.
Yeah.
And my research, apparently he'd done like some 10 unalivings, and he would send letters to the authorities mocking them.
Right, and in fact, he'd put like little letters, and it was a whole big whodunit. They were always, like, after he had unalived somebody, then they'd always accompany it, be a letter like to the authorities or to,
And so
he would put he cut like little letters out of the newspaper, and so
just pure narcissism on his part.
Now, in the overall, Pete, before we close this or when we wrap this up, one couple questions for you. One, in the overall New York metro area, I think the most famous prior to Rex might have been Son of Sam, as far as serial unalivers.
Was he unaliver or was he a vigilante?
See, I don't know.
Because remember, the
Son of Sam,
the serial unalivers are psychologically driven to commit the violence for the purpose of the violence. And like that's the psychological gratification from it,
right?
As opposed to the guy who's in the mob from the Bronx crew getting an order to go out to Jersey for a headache. He's got no psychological compulsion.
I think the Son of Sam had it was, I don't know how many unalives he had on his tab, but I know he was from New York, and it was like the summer of '75.
Yeah, but I don't know if he had the psychological control factor. Was he trying to control and dominate?
He said a dog was talking to him.
Well, yeah, then he may have just been. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the facts.
Yeah.
Of the case. I just
that would be. I'd like maybe we do a follow up one of these days on a Son of Sam.
Yeah,
because he was. I think he might have had.
Wasn't his defense vigilantism though? Like
yes, I think so. But I think they were able to. That was his defense. But I think they were able to psychologically break it down, and he had these testimony where his dog was telling him who to go out.
Like those. That's not.
Yeah,
that is different. Like assuming those facts are correct, then he's just psychologically not well, as opposed to Heuermann. He's not well. He's just someone who. This is who he is. This is
right. He's a very dark.
This is a predator.
Right. That's the best word.
There's no way. There's nothing you can do to. It's like the men who have. You may like long-legged blondes. I like hot-blooded Latinas with big asses. But
I like
Latinas. Some.
For the record, I like big-ass Latinas too.
Okay. Some men are attracted to minors, and they're never going to change.
Right. It's like you can't rewire somebody's sexuality.
And yes, and that's right. And so
when you're broken in that manner, it's such a sick manner.
That's right. It's just broken.
That's how he gets off.
The guy who says he's listening to a dog isn't broken. He's just ill.
Right.
Heuermann is literally a predator who can never change.
With Rex, the Gilgo Beach
unaliver.
There probably came a point, and maybe we should touch on this as we wrap it up, where he didn't go to jury trial. He pled because they probably just had everything that you laid out times 10, and
once they got the matrix, from his computer,
and they laid it out. He's a smart guy. I mean, by living in Long Beach, working in Manhattan, that was part of what makes this case a little bit different. The fact that he's just not some dirtbag that's a drifter.
He confessed to his wife.
Yeah. Oh, so that's how did the levels of, because I'm sure at first he was not guilty, lawyered up.
She lawyered up, and she stood by her man for the better part of 3 years.
So let's just do a brief little segment on
the wife and the kids.
After they got him,
they stayed in support of Heuermann, and
so he gets arrested. I'm not guilty. Lawyer up. Wife says, "I got you, honey. I got your back."
That's right.
You didn't do this.
That's right. She publicly said it. My husband didn't do this.
Right. Then
over to as the massive material begins to generate, particularly I'm sure at the beginning, the authorities are looking at what's her level of knowledge.
Right.
Like they could prove she was gone, but did she have knowledge?
Right. Which could be something for her.
The way it played, the fact that he ultimately decided to plea, like he didn't just say, tell his lawyer, hey, go call the prosecutor to work something out. He confessed to her. She reported it.
But she had to,
That insulates her.
But had she not reported
of course, and then that would be suspicious.
There probably comes a point for her where she says, hey, listen, I can do the married, stand by my man gimmick for so long, but there comes a point where I got to save my own ass.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sure.
There probably comes a point, she probably had that conversation with counsel saying, hey, listen, it's admirable to stand by your man.
But she spoke with him while he was in pretrial custody. He made the confession to her. She reports the confession to the authorities.
Right.
That's checkmate at that point.
You're done. And you would know, Pete, like, does there ever come a point where you lawyer up, you're not guilty, I'm fighting this, as they put the avalanche of data on you and on your attorney, and your attorney's all ready for the fight. But as the discovery comes more and more and more, now you have the feds and you got the forensic, you got the DNA, you got the Chevy Avalanche, you got all of the stuff does there come a point where
calculation, I'm sure, was to protect the wife.
But does your lawyer tell you in a situation like this, you're done, bud?
No.
No.
His lawyers were actively fighting. Well, I'm sure look, put it this way. In the event the attorneys had something to bargain with.
Right.
That's different.
Right.
I'm sure they'd been coming to him like, hey, let's talk about 25. But once it's 4 women, 6 women, 7 women, 8, there's no offer on the table.
No.
So they're actively challenging to get the evidence suppressed. They're actively challenging to get the case severed. We'll handle this block of unaliving as opposed to this group, break up the case.
Right.
But at that point, they're just rearranging chairs on the Titanic.
Rearranging deck chairs.
You're rearranging deck chairs.
That's
why when he told her that's like his final act, I think, to his family. Like, go protect yourself, insulate yourself.
Right. I'm done.
So she goes, reports the information. She files for a divorce.
She's clear. Like, she's free.
Yeah, she reported the information.
Right. That was like that
insulates them entirely.
Right. Right.
She, from the reports, has indicated that, of course, that she ends her relationship. She files for a divorce. She goes back to her maiden name, sells the house, grabs the kid, leave.
Right.
Done.
Done.
They're done.
Done.
They're done.
Man, Pete, I had a great time with this, my friend.
Wonderful.
We got to kind of think about what our next one's going to be.
Okay.
This one went really well. Appreciate you, man.
No problem. You're welcome.
Appreciate y'all out there. Deadly Intentions is our podcast. We're going to have it across all platforms. This is hopefully the really, really good thing, start of a really, really good thing. Met Pete through a mutual friend. What a good dude. What a knowledgeable dude. I spent literally half my day yesterday just talking stuff with Pete, and I look so forward to getting down the path on a lot of this stuff that Pete can talk about, has knowledge of. And I think that you'll find this podcast very in-depth and refreshing. And just like, for instance, today, we got into stuff that this is a very famous documentary on Netflix, and Pete got into 2 or 3 different areas that I watched the entire series that they never talked about. They didn't talk about the unaliving of the guy with the burlap strap. They didn't get into several different areas that Pete was able to dissect and read and get into. So hope you learned something, and more importantly, look for our next one. We look to drop one of these, 1 per week. We'll get on a schedule, and you guys will know that schedule. More importantly, tell your friends about it. We'd like to grow and be very successful. So appreciate you. See you next week.